Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the third lesson on Break with Baerg. Today, we are finally going to get to play level 2 on Journey 50, and we are going to learn about plant health. So let me shrink myself here, and we will get started. All right, remember Journey 2050 is brought to us by a number of awesome organizations that have made it possible for you to be able to play it from the safety and comfort of your home. Today, we are going to talk about how nutrients are depleted from the soil. Now, some of you have more knowledge about nutrients, especially those of you who have taken plant science classes such as agronomy or greenhouse or horticulture. For those of you who don't know, we are just going to give you a little bit of information in order to get you started. So, here I have let me just make this large again. Here I have an example of how nutrients are depleted from the soil. So I have a jar here. We're going to pretend that this is your soil and that the water line here represents the amount of nutrients you have in the soil. So right now it's about the 6 or 7 line, which signifies that that the soil has used up, or plants have used up some of the nutrients, but you still have quite a reserve. So, if this is your field, we're going to pretend that you have planted some, let's say, corn. You've planted some corn, and your seed needs water to germinate. So it starts germinating and it starts growing. And then, as it grows, the seed will eventually be depleted in nutrients, and it will have to start drawing nutrients from the soil around it in order to grow. So that is going to be our initial uptake of nutrients, which I'm going to uptake right now. I'll just pretend I am the corn plant. All right, so now you can see that our plant has drank down the nutrient level so that there is less nutrients in the soil. Nutrients just don't magically reappear, so once it's gone, it's gone. Now, at this point, the plant is big enough now, the corn is big enough now that it is going to start producing flowers, seeds, fruits, whatever the plant's going to produce. In this case, it's going to throw out silks for the corn, and then it's going to start producing the mature corn, which we all know and love here in Iowa. So what it's going to do is it's going to drink even more nutrients, because it takes a lot of nutrients in order to have a successful crop. So I'm going to drink that down to the amount of nutrients it would have taken up. All right. At this point, the corn is ready for harvest. So it has taken up its amount of nutrients that it needs, and we're going to go in and harvest the corn, and then the ground is allowed to rest for a while. So that's just 1 year. Then we have winter, the ground is resting, then comes along spring, and we're going to plant seeds again. So we put our corn seeds, or in this case, maybe soybeans if you're doing a crop rotation, the next crop in the soil, and it uses some water to germinate. Then it starts to grow. Now we're back to the initial amount of nutrients that it needs. So first of all, the nutrients and the seeds are going to start depleting. It's going to need to take up nutrients from the environment. So it starts for the original growth to take up nutrients. All right, so now we have a nice big corn plant. However, now it is time for it to start throwing silks and begin, or whatever plant it is, and to start producing the fruits or seeds. So it needs to take up its next nutrients. As you can see, the plant needs more nutrients, but there's none left because we didn't replenish any over the time, and so we're all out of nutrients. Let me shrink myself here. So that's how an illustration of how nutrients are depleted from the soil. You can see they go down and down, and if they're never replaced, then you all of a sudden find yourself in a really rough spot. So, we have a couple of questions. Is it possible for farmers to use too many nutrients on their fields? Pretty obvious answer, yes. It's very easy. Could farmers also add not enough nutrients? Yes, seems reasonable. If growing plants depletes soil nutrients, why should farmers continue to grow crops? So, this one's kind of obvious. If we finish growing crops, then we end food production, and everyone here needs to eat to survive. So, that is not an option. We talked some about sustainability already, but this is one reason why sustainability is so important, because we want to make sure that we're not depleting our resources that we need in order to survive. So we're going to watch the plant health video on J2050. I'm going to put the link in the description so that you can watch it again later.
Nutrients are essential. We need them to produce food. They provide energy and support the growth and maintenance of our bodies. Without adequate nutrients, people become malnourished and cannot protect themselves from disease. We get our nutrients from plants and animals through the food we eat. Animals get their nutrients from the plants they eat, and plants take nutrients from the soil and elements from the air. Plants require 17 essential nutrients. The primary nutrients are nitrogen, N, phosphorus, P, and potassium, K. Each nutrient does many things for the plant, but the basics are this. Nitrogen is often called the builder. It is necessary for chlorophyll synthesis, which helps the plant stay healthy, green, and strong. Nitrogen helps make plant proteins as well. Phosphorus is referred to as the enforcer. It helps the plant trap and use the sun's energy to make food through photosynthesis. Plants also need phosphorus to grow healthy root systems. Potassium is often called the protector. Potassium protects our plants against diseases and helps them stay healthy when it is cold or dry because it helps move nutrients and water in the plant to where it's needed most. We may not realize it, but the soil beneath our feet is a vibrant source of life and nutrients. Soil is home to lots of living and non-living materials. This includes rocks, minerals, bacteria, and countless insects and organisms so small you need a microscope to see them. It takes a long time to make soil. As rock crumbles and erodes, the minerals mix with the organic material from the remains of plants and animals that decay over time, creating nutrient-rich soil. Soils are like a bank where nutrients and water are stored. Plants get the nutrients they need from the soil through their roots. If these nutrients are not replaced through the use of fertilizer and organic material, the bank is depleted and the soil will slowly become less fertile. Nutrient-deficient plants show symptoms like turning pale yellow in color and have poor growth. They're less able to compete with weeds, resist plant diseases, insects, or drought. These plant health-related problems may result in less food grown with lower nutritional value. Let me tell you about best management practices. Developed from science and experience, they're used to prevent soil depletion, improve production on current land, and make sure farmers aren't forced to move onto new fertile land elsewhere. As a result, more natural habitat is preserved. Best management practices range from simple planting of shelter belts or hedge trees to reduce soil erosion to more technical practices like the use of global positioning systems for the precise application of nutrients. Best management practices will be different depending on where you farm, but each practice allows farmers to do more with less. To maximize sustainability, farmers use best management practices such as the 4R nutrient stewardship system. First, farmers test the soil to find out what nutrients soil needs, and then they select the seeds that will grow best in the area. Next, they can use the 4R nutrient stewardship system to precisely apply the nutrients required to grow a healthy crop. Farmers start with the right source to determine the correct combination of nutrients, then they figure out the exact amount the plant needs. This is the right rate, not too much and not too little. The nutrients must then be applied at the right time of year and the right place in the field to increase crop uptake. Take a look at how the 4R nutrient stewardship system can help farm families. For example, in Kenya, farmers carefully apply fertilizers, plant material, or manure near the plant's roots using the 4Rs. Here, the nutrients are being applied on the surface, so they are at risk of being lost to the environment. Too many losses can cause negative impacts on the air, water quality, and habitats. In the long run, it's not sustainable. That's why best management practices like the creation of riparian areas and the use of the 4R nutrient stewardship system are so important. They can improve crop yields, increase soil quality, increase farm profits, and protect habitats. You will have the opportunity to help your farm families use best management practices to improve sustainability. Remember the sustainability barrel. Be thoughtful with your choices. And always keep in mind that every decision has more than one impact on sustainability.
All right, so that had a lot of content in it, which we are going to break down a little bit, and then you're going to go ahead and get some practice with it on J2050. So, when we look at the soil, why does soil matter? Well, basically everything that we grow in large quantities is coming from our soil. Potatoes, lettuce, beans, as well as the crops that we use to feed livestock. So, livestock products with meat, milk, eggs. The soil is the foundation of the production for basically all food. I mean, there are some other things like hydroponics and other places we get our food from, but soil is really a cornerstone in food production. So, I talked about this in the video, if you remember, and hopefully if you take an agronomy or any plant science class, you know this, but the 3 primary nutrients plants need to grow are nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So, if you remember the nutrient bank that we went over as the plant drank the nutrients down, they came out of the soil. So how are the nutrients replenished? Well, first of all, you have to look at where they come from. Most of our nutrients come from nature, so things like manure, fertilizer, organic sources, and compost. Those are the things that we need in order to put nutrients back into the soil. So, how does overall plant health affect a plant's ability to resist bugs and disease? Looking at what we need in order to put nutrients back into the soil so that it can keep our plants safe against whatever it may face. Think of this in the same way as you. So, which one is more likely to get a contagious illness? Someone who is eating healthy, exercising, is in good overall health, or someone who eats a poor diet, does not exercise, and is generally less healthy? Answer, hopefully, is kind of obvious. Usually the people that have a good immune system and are able to eat a balanced diet, exercise, all those good things are more likely to be able to resist a contagious illness. So same question, what can make a plant sick or destroy a plant? So insects is a huge one. I'm sure those of you who walk around in the summer see insects all the time. They have to eat something. A lot of times they eat different plants. Diseases. Just like humans can get diseases, so do plants. Nutrient deficiencies, if they are not getting a certain amount of nutrient, if they've depleted all that nutrient in the soil. The last one is weed infestations. So weeds take up either space, sunlight, or nutrients that the plants would have been able to have otherwise. Other benefits to maintaining optimum plant health. They're able to better resist pests and diseases so that we as humans can spend less time and money trying to control pests and diseases and worry about the environmental effects of that. Also, the plants will be able to grow faster and outcompete the weeds so that they will be healthier and have better production. And then we will be able to grow them to their genetic potential and produce more food, which is going to be essential for our growing population. So best management practices come in varying degrees. You can have poor management decisions, good management decisions, and the best management decisions. So when we call, when something is the best it can be, it's a best management practice, or a BMP. So when you are playing the game, you will have an option of doing a best management practice. This really comes down to what they covered in the video: right source, right time, right rate, and right place. I will have a link in the description to describe more of that 4Rs to follow when you are applying nutrient application. Here's an example of a canola crop. You have the one with the fertilizers applied based on the 4R, and then you have no nutrients added to the soil. You can really tell the difference between the plant size and the yield that will come off of those two crops. All right, now you're going to go ahead and play level 2 on the sustainability farming game. You are going to play on there'll be 3 countries you're going to play in for each level now. You'll have Kenya, then you'll go over to India, and then Canada. So you're going to play all of level 2, just don't click on the level 3 once we're all done. So in this game, it'll be more complex. Your sustainability barrel is going to be bigger, more things to organize, and you're going to have these 3 options for nutrients. You'll have a no nutrient option, which you can see is free. That's convenient, but also doesn't really help the crop yield at all, and your soil health goes down. You have your standard practice, which you will see is just putting the same amount of nutrients on the entire field, which is a little bit cheaper. And then you have your best practice, which you can see really helps your crop yield go up, but it is a little more expensive. So it's going to look something like this for best management, and the red areas are the areas where it is depleted and it really needs that nutrient in those areas. And then the yellow and green is becoming less and less, like that's good in those areas, and then the outside are all good. So you'll have to manage that as you do your best management practices. We're going to post the follow-up discussions on the website, so make sure you go back and answer those, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.